Okay. I'm Nina Berre. I'm one of the curators for the Nordic Pavilion this year, and the topic or the title of the exhibition is Forms of Freedom, African Independence and Nordic Models. And the exhibition is about how Nordic architecture became an integral part of Nordic aid to the newly independent, to some newly independent countries in Africa, in Eastern Africa, in the 1960s and 70s. In this period, there was a coincidence between the development of Nordic state aid and the newly independent countries in Africa. They looked to the Nordic countries partly because of their not strong colonial past, but also because of the results after the Second World War, when the Nordic countries built up their welfare states. And in the Nordic politicians, on their part, had a strong belief that this social democratic model could be exported and translated and be a kind of tool to build up the new nations in Africa and with welfare and modernization. So what we did was to actually try to find historical material, archival material, to present some of the projects that these Nordic architects did in the African countries. So far we have found a lot of projects, and some of them are highlighted in this exhibition. And what we try to do is to give a story about the past and present realities. So we are looking to the architectural results of this period, and we are trying to see how these works today are adapted or transformed, rejected or absorbed.
So this is the architecture dating back to the 50s?
No, from the 1960s and
60s, 70s?
Because, you know, these countries became independent during the 1960s. Tanzania, Zambia and Kenya. We have chosen those three countries. And that was a period when the Nordic countries started to develop their aid program. So then it became this strong connection between the Nordic countries and these African countries.
Last question, what remains of these projects in Africa?
Yeah, it's a lot of traces after these projects, and what you can see on the walls here are newly taken photographs from some of the projects, not at least the Kenyatta International Conference Center, which has been a kind of icon of independence or very strong identity for Nairobi and for Kenya as an independent nation. And that building is designed by the Norwegian architect Carl-Henrik Nøstvik. And Ivan Band, the international photographer, he has documented that building, but also another building from the same architect. That was more a kind of failure because it was a fishing factory, a freezing plant that never functioned as it was planned. But the architecture is still interesting to look at. And we have the Norwegian photographer Mette Tronvold. She documented some of the very many module schools in Zambia, where also Nordic architects contributed to the rapid modernization that Kenneth Kaunda really wanted to heighten the education level. And these schools are still in use, and they are still educating a lot of Zambian young people, although they are also, you know, some of them are not maintained as we would do maybe in the northern countries, but they are still in use. So that's very interesting to see these projects, how they are situated, or how they are, how the status of these projects are today, and the ideas behind those projects, and the connection between the political connections also between the Nordic countries and these East African countries and their new independent leaders.
Thank you.